Hi, everyone. On today's episode of Dieline Decoded, Danielle McWaters, founder and CCO of Designsake Studio, will decode the design process behind their Dieline Award-winning project, Kulia Skincare. With an unboxing experience that feels incredibly special, every layer of Kulia's packaging reflects its brand values, from recyclable glass to Neenah FSC paper stocks and soy-based inks. Conscious decisions were made every step of the way with the hope that Kulia can empower its community to strive with them towards a future that puts our planet first. Danielle McWaters is a designer, art director, strategist, and founder of California-based branding and packaging consultancy, Designsake Studio. She started her career as a photographer, then transitioned into graphic design where she created packaging, brand strategy, and global advertising campaigns for Benefit Cosmetics. After 6 years, she broke off to start Designsake in 2014, and since, her work has won numerous design awards. And last but not least, I'd like to give a big thank you to Neenah Paper for sponsoring today's episode. Please welcome Danielle.
So who is Designsake? Designsake is a branding and packaging consultancy. We really focus our work on launching and growing brands to their full potential. Who we typically work with, we touch a wide range of businesses from startups to kind of legacy organizations, but typically we partner with entrepreneurs, innovators, and ambitious organizations to create, develop, and propel their company to a more prosperous and principled future. So that could be anybody from somebody with a prototype for a product and they have no idea how to position it, market it, package it, and bring it to market. Or it can be somebody who, or a company that's been in business for several years. They're at that place where they're ready to grow, maybe make some pivots in terms of strategy positioning, which often leads to kind of a revamp of identity, packaging, and their digital experience. So before we get into Kulia, I wanted to give you a little bit of background on my design career because I was not a traditional designer right out of the gate. I didn't go to design school originally. I was a photojournalism major. I got into publishing in 2008, which was a horrible time to get in publishing, but I had some really great experiences working for San Francisco Magazine, but ultimately, as I said, it wasn't my passion, and I knew I needed to get into a different field. So I actually moved from publishing over to my first, as I like to say, my first real job at Benefit Cosmetics, which was in 2010, and I came into the organization actually as a coordinator, and I actually grew up with Gene and Jane Ford and their daughters, and knew about Benefit for a very long time, and I never envisioned my career being in cosmetics, but I had an opportunity to move into the organization and thought, hey, well, this is a great chance for me to learn and maybe gain some new skills, and then we'll see what my next evolution will be. But so I came into this role. I started as a coordinator, and then I worked my way up. I moved eventually into a junior designer position. I went back to school at UC Berkeley, and then after kind of going back to school and then really getting on the job training, I was able to move again from a junior designer to a designer over the course of about 5.5 years. So I had to put this picture of myself over here, young me in 2010, starting my design career. And I wanted to obviously showcase some of the products that I worked on while I was there, including some mascara, Kulia, some of their really hero products. And actually even put in this reference here, which is the launch of their Real Mascara, which was one of their, I think still is one of their largest selling SKUs. That's my eyeball on there. So maybe you've actually seen me and met me before via mascara packaging. So yeah, I think it's just a good reminder to anyone who's watching and listening that, you know, you don't have to have necessarily a traditional design career. And I will say that this chapter at Benefit was truly rewarding times in my life. I learned so much from those founders and really understood what it means to build a brand. Jean and Jane were so creative, they were so savvy, and I really did learn many of my tricks around brand strategy, positioning, creative direction, packaging from those creative meetings that we had weekly with our product development team, our copywriting team, our art team. They were really, really collaborative, really inclusive, and it was a great environment to learn design and branding specifically. So that's where I started my career. After I said 5.5 years, I decided to leave. I wanted to make sure that I could design kind of in other capacities outside of Benefit, knowing that they had such a distinct style and in terms of packaging, in terms of design. And I was really interested in, you know, exploring other brands and really this notion of, you know, the synergy that happens within the world of branding specifically that doesn't, that extends beyond being in-house somewhere. So at the time, I actually, it was 2014, I left and I started Designsake. So since launching in 2014, we've worked on a whole bunch of different products in different categories. I think we're probably the most well-known for our work at Nixit, which is a revolutionary menstrual cup. But we have touched a whole bunch of different categories, from feminine care to skincare to beverage to food to cannabis. So I just wanted to kind of showcase a couple of projects here. So here's our work for Nixit. We also launched Matter, which is an antimicrobial coating for packaging, which I'll actually talk about a little bit later in this project as we launch this in tandem with our development for Kulia Skincare. Brood, which is a microbiome-friendly skincare line. Quim, which is a vaginal health and wellness company. Aeon Botanica, this is actually a project we're about to launch. It's a kind of holistic cannabis wellness center down in Los Angeles. Aurora Elixirs, a really wonderful, delicious CBD infused beverage company based in Portland. And Kulia, which is why you guys are all here. So I want to share with you the story of Kulia and essentially how we built this. So Kulia is a skincare line, as we describe it, a high vibrance skincare for body, spirit, and planet. So it's really a beautiful, unique luxury skincare product. The founder really uses some incredible earth extracts, essential oils, and what makes her products really unique is that she actually adds amethyst and rose quartz crystals to the formulas to actually increase the vibrancy of the carrier oils, of the essential oils, to hopefully kind of create your highest vibrance in yourself personally, but also within your skincare routine. So where this project started was with Jasmine. So here is the founder of Kulia. Jasmine is truly a wonderful, remarkable human being. I feel very lucky to have worked with her for so many years. But I first met Jasmine several years ago, and she reached out to me and said, I'm interested in building a skincare line. I see you have a lot of experience based on your benefit work. At that time, I had also worked with Sephora and Credo and a bunch of different organizations. And really that was kind of my expertise was within the skincare category. So I was a little skeptical, to be honest, and that's only because I'm really familiar with the space And I know how challenging it is to create a really beautiful formula, a really beautiful brand that stands out in a really competitive category. But I met with her and truly was taken in awe with just her passion for skincare, her extensive knowledge of carrier oils, formulation, essential oils, distillation processes. She really had spent years cultivating this knowledge to create this product. And she had serums designed already, but was really looking to figure out, how do I do this and scale this in a way that makes sense, that I could really build a brand around this and not just make kind of small batch products for, dear friends and family. So one of the biggest things that I asked her about was, what do you really feel differentiates your product, knowing again that this is a really saturated space. So the biggest thing for her, the biggest thing for her was to talk about ingredients. It was to talk about crystals and really kind of debunking, demystifying the formulation process. And it's interesting, this project happened, I guess this project started a couple years ago, but even just seeing the evolution of the luxury skincare category since we began our work together to now, the expectation of ingredient transparency is table stakes, but there's still a lot of misinformation. There's still a lot of lack of education around understanding what makes a really safe, efficacious, beautiful formula. So the next step for us was to actually kind of build the formulation process into a scalable, model. So we knew that a formulator would have to come into play, and then really figuring out from a timeline perspective of how do we build this brand and how do we bring it to market was actually very contingent around the formulation piece. And so we kind of drafted, okay, well, we're going to need to work on formulation. We're going to need to build out brand strategy, positioning. At this point, also, we didn't have a name for the brand. So we needed to work on naming, and then packaging, digital, content, etc. So this was a good example of a comprehensive project that we're most comfortable executing for our clients. And it's honestly our favorite way to work because we get to touch all pieces of how this brand comes to life. So the other really important thing about Jasmine, just to throw this in here now, is her story, her background story. And this was something, again, that I wanted to push her on to be very transparent about in her bringing this brand to market is, you have a personal experience here that needs to be shared in order to really validate why you're doing this, what kind of, how you're taking your experiences and translating it into a product that hopefully helps other people, but specifically women, to understand their skincare and pick better products that are supportive of their health and well-being. So Jasmine actually grew up on a banana farm on the Big Island, and starting from a very young age, she helped her family cultivate and care for this banana farm. And it was really, really hard work, and they didn't have all the resources that a traditional larger farm would have. And so they ended up being kind of using and having to be exposed to kind of some harmful toxins, some pesticides, things to really kind of protect their crop. And fast forward 20 years later, she started to experience some really difficult health problems, lethargy. She was having problems with her teeth, a whole bunch of other things that, she had gone to Western medicine and tried to resolve. And she was like, I'm in my young 20s. I really shouldn't feel this tired. I shouldn't feel this bad. can you help me? And she wasn't able to find solutions there. So she really started to dig into everything, like a lot of founders kind of in the health and wellness space do, and really try to understand the interconnectedness that we have to all the things that we put in and on top of our skin. So that was really the jumping off point for her, and in starting Kulia and figuring out essential oils and carrier oils, understanding absolutes and extracts and the distillation process, and how all of those things, all of those little nuances actually really do determine the output, the quality, the toxicity levels of skincare products that we're putting on our face and body every day. So that was the bigger kind of her purpose in saying that she really wanted people to know and understand the quality of good ingredients, the interconnectedness that we have to nature and pulling these ingredients out of our natural resources, and to say, how do we do this in a better, more sustainable, more ethical way? So that was kind of the background. That was the scope of which we came on for the project. And that began a 12-month journey. So, like I said, the biggest thing that we really wanted to focus on was what made our products different, and how did we think about that from all the other competitors within the clean beauty space. And like I mentioned, ingredients is a key portion of it, but ingredients and ingredient transparency can mean a lot of different things. And for Jasmine, she really wanted to say, there's one thing to have an ingredient list listed on a bottle, but it's different when you can really offer ingredient transparency to your customers and say, okay, well, we source this Kalahari seed oil from South Africa, from this farm, and we choose this farm because this is actually a critical, them selling and producing this Kalahari seed oil is critical to their economy, critical to actually them cultivating a kind of more nourishing soil, using regenerative farming practices. And, the reality is that you can buy skincare oils and carrier oils on Amazon, and really have no idea actually where that comes from and what the quality of those ingredients are. And I think that was something that, we saw a major shift from, the early 90s in terms of skincare products that you were using that, you could buy at CVS or anywhere else that, had really harmful, like kind of stringent chemicals or synthetics that really didn't support your skin barrier or microbiome. And, then we saw this evolution happen, particularly with millennial women over time, where they kind of got smart to really understanding what happened, what they were using on their skin, being able to decipher ingredients on a body lotion label, a face serum, a face lotion. And so I think Jasmine is a good example of probably the most extreme, where she really wanted to say, I want to take it a step further and give my customers transparency on where the actual ingredient comes from, what the benefits of it are, everything down to like pH scale, which again, now you're kind of seeing become more of a standard in skincare products. But for her, and at the time, it was a little bit more kind of revolutionary. The other thing is, she wanted to make sure that she was sourcing ingredients from, like I said, local farmers, farmers that were using ethical practices for not only their companies, their organizations, but also the land and land management. So, for example, Royal Hawaiian sandalwood is an ingredient that is actually really native to the Hawaiian Islands, but most of the sourcing for that doesn't come from Hawaii. It comes from places in either the South Pacific, South America, other places, but there's actually only a few indigenous sources for this. And so for sandalwood. So she actually went to the Big Island to source it from this farmer that you see here that are actually protecting one of the last plots of land with these indigenous sandalwood trees in an effort to see if they can kind of cultivate them, bring them back to a larger scale, and nourish the land while also protecting kind of the original roots of where this ingredient comes from. The next thing was crystals. Like I said, at this point in the luxury skincare category, no one was using crystals. And I thought it was such an incredible, unique idea that also spoke to her and her ethos and this notion that crystals contain an energy, they have a vibrancy that is, that we interact with. And that's why you see a lot of people have crystals in their home and, that they carry their own energy. And she really wanted to make sure that that kind of ethos of having that everything kind of has its own energy permeate through crystals, through her through her formulation as well, to say that this little bit of extra something actually increases the frequency, the output, the energy of this serum that you are putting on your face. So I wanted to put this quote in here because I think it's a nice summary of Jasmine's formulation ethos. So when we realize the essence of each hand-selected flower and plant, we can truly appreciate how nature acts as the divine life force behind our formulas. And this really does kind of embody everything about the way she kind of perceives her place in the world, perceives, her appreciation for plants, for our kind of natural resources. And she's really connected to plants, flowers in particular. She has like an entire beautiful series of flower photography that she does all over the Hawaiian Islands. And I think what I really appreciated about her ethos and her philosophy was to really help customers understand like where these essential oils come from, where these carrier oils come from, and really tying it directly back to nature and our natural resources. And not only that piece, but understanding that we also have a responsibility if we are going to create skincare products that nourish ourselves, that we also need to take care of our planet. And that comes with making smarter choices about how we source ingredients, who we partner with, in order for us to be able to have beautiful skincare products to use on our skin in 50 years, 100 years, and far, far beyond. So then we went into the formulation process. And so I just wanted to share some images here of the formulation testing that we went through. So we partnered with an incredible formulator with extensive years of experience to create these formulas, with Jasmine's original formula kind of being the base. And the other really key component for us was to make sure that how we were sourcing these ingredients, the ultimate formulation that we would land on would be Cosmos certified. So that's actually Eco-Cosmos certified is a European certification process. And for those who aren't as familiar with the skincare industry, the European standard for kind of efficacy, transparency, and clean ingredients is actually much better in Europe than it is in the United States. And so that's another kind of key benefit, going back to positioning and strategy, to say that, having clean ingredients, being really transparent about it wasn't enough for us to really hang our hat on. We wanted to make sure that we could have a formula that met this European standard and really gave customers the confidence that we are pushing our formulas to the highest standard within the category. And a lot of companies that or products that you see out on the market don't have this certification. It takes time. It does, have another cost associated, but in the end, I think it was a really smart move for her because it's something that she really stands on, and also kind of allowed her to really expand from a marketing perspective to European markets that were more familiar with the eco certification process and standard. So here you see us testing out different formulas on our counter. You know, it was really fun to kind of push pull in terms of essential oils and, you know, carrier oils to say, like, we want more Kalahari, we want more German chamomile. And we were really a part of that process with Jasmine from beginning to end. So then after we kind of, or I guess I should say in tandem with the formulation process, we were getting underway with strategy, positioning, and and packaging design. And so, like I said, from a positioning standpoint, we wanted to make sure that what was communicated is that we had, you know, the highest quality formulas that were eco certified, that had complete ingredient transparency and sourcing, that offered, you know, kind of the high vibrancy of crystals. And so we kind of had those elements to play with, but then kind of moving into the visual side and really thinking about visual differentiation for the category, I wanted to make sure that we could really stand apart. So at the time, this was kind of the clean beauty landscape. So what you'll notice is that there's a lot of really clean, minimal packaging, use of, you know, black glass, but it was really simple type treatments, things that just kind of felt that, you know, it was kind of the height of the minimalist design from a typography standpoint, from a color standpoint. And actually, when Jasmine first came to me, she had done some original sketches for the packaging, and it was really simple. It was black and white. It had, I think, one or two kind of flower illustrations, and she was like, "Well, what do you think?" And I was honest with her and said, "I think that this is not a fair representation, not only of your product and your product's positioning, but this is going to fall kind of in line with everything else that you're seeing in the market. And if we're trying to think about how do we really stand out, not only in a digital landscape, but potentially thinking about retail, you know, we kind of want to move away from this direction so that we have a real opportunity to catch people's eye on shelf." And I think the other piece for us was that we had this really rich story. You know, she's from Hawaii, her roots are there, she lives there. She is really, really connected to nature, spends a lot of time outside connecting with flowers and making her own bouquets and really understanding the benefits of all these kind of natural ingredients around her. And it's such a beautiful, lush landscape that I really wanted us to push kind of beyond what we were seeing currently in this category, to really find something that was not only unique, but again, really helped support the brand's positioning and strategy. So our opportunities to really stand out visually was to also select a component that highlighted the formula and the crystals. We were fortunate enough to get to a formula where it could be shelf stable in a clear component. And again, we wanted to be able to showcase the crystals, which you can actually see at the bottom of the jar, and you kind of hear them clink around in there. But it's really cool to be able to pick it up and see those amethyst and rose quartz crystals. The other opportunity we had was to add color and really figure out, you know, what could be a deco that really transported customers to Hawaii. Her formulas feel like a vacation, and she has, you know, this incredible backdrop, this incredible landscape to tell her story. And, you know, it has an aspirational quality that we felt we could really leverage. And lastly, to really step away from the trends that we were seeing from a design perspective in terms of foil, in terms of really minimal layouts, typography, so that, again, we didn't really fall into kind of all the trends that we were seeing at the time. So here's just a snapshot of some of the type that we moved into in terms of exploring. You also will notice that you'll see different names here that are not Kulia. And so actually at the time, we had a registration issue with USPTO, and we had to go back to the drawing board for naming. So we actually moved away from the original names that we had, and then we moved into Kulia, which actually means in Hawaiian to strive for, which we felt was a perfect kind of fit for the brand, knowing that she was really trying to strive for a new standard in terms of formulation, ingredients, and really just this kind of slower philosophy around skincare and really being present and connected to the things that you use and where they come from, and have a real appreciation for what they give to us. So from a type perspective, I wanted to pick something that probably wasn't a sans serif. I kind of had this in my mind. I wanted something that was really classic, in the serif category, and to see how that would kind of complement, and again, subtle distinction, but differentiation from kind of all the other really clean sans serif options that we were seeing in the kind of clean and luxury skincare category. The other piece was really looking at the natural landscape of Hawaii and seeing there's 1,000 flowers, plants, trees that you can pull from that are all so beautiful. And once you kind of, cultivate them into one snapshot, you can really see it just has such an energy of color and life. And I really wanted to make sure that we delivered that. Like, I think that was something that was really appealing for our target customer, especially kind of, again, leaning into this notion that it could feel like a kind of like a retreat or kind of like a vacation. And maybe, it's your little kind of moment that you can feel far away and kind of smell the natural aromas and of the essential oils, and really get this aromatic experience that kind of felt like life on an island. And here, so we move into kind of, okay, what's the application? So really taking those elements from those photographs, looking at nature, and building this kind of floral jungle landscape with birds of paradise and natural palm fronds and wild orchids and one of these kind of like lobster plants. There's just so many beautiful flowers, and we felt like this was such a fun way to kind of illustrate this landscape using kind of vibrant colors that really kind of brought to life the Hawaiian landscape and really felt differentiated. So we continued to kind of explore. We drew all of these out. We played a lot with some texture pieces in terms of using paintbrushes to see if we could get some kind of texture elements to create layers within the illustration. And then we wanted to also see, this is kind of us looking just at a simple frame of, okay, well, what if we did this on the label? How would this translate to the box? And and then also thinking about the component itself. So we landed on a kind of heavy bottom glass component, and we actually really liked this notion that you see here of the wooden cap. But after stability testing, we had a hard time. There was some separation that kept happening between the wood and the inner cap. So, and we couldn't seem to get like a good solution on it. So we decided to move away from that, move to a cleaner white cap. But I wanted to just showcase this here to say too, it was like a really small deco area, they're 1 ounce bottles. And I think what we had when we were talking about the label itself, we felt like we were kind of losing some of that ingredient transparency, which was so core to our positioning, our strategy, and our messaging. And so we kind of were toying with it, and then brought up the idea of, okay, well, maybe we should move into more of a deco. So as we're kind of exploring this option, we're also looking at the box. And so we, you know, kind of knew we had this colorful element that would live on the primary, and wanted to maybe create some tension or some push pull, or maybe an element of surprise around this kind of color reveal. And so we tried a couple different options where we took the illustration and kind of created patterns and said, okay, well, what would that look like if it flooded maybe the front and side panels of the box? Or what if we actually tried an option where we took these elements and had them as a blind emboss on the box, and then we opened the box to kind of a flood of color, and it could really act as like a little bit of a surprise. So then we started going into paper selection. And so we are huge fans of Neenah. Neenah has been so supportive of Designsake from the get-go. We love their papers. And so we knew that we were going to use a Neenah folding board. And so we ultimately selected a PC white. We wanted PC white eggshell because we wanted some of that texture piece, especially knowing that we had this illustration that was kind of in the natural landscape. That eggshell kind of allowed us to nod into kind of soil or dirt, or just something that felt a little bit more organic. So we are kind of cruising at this point. We've got our paper selection. We're moving into white samples. We're going to start doing color drawdowns, and all of a sudden 2020 hits, and this lovely pandemic that has taken so much of the last 2 years of our life set in, and we had no idea what COVID was going to bring, and led to a lot of pain for the next year. But we figured it out. So we took the opportunity to say, okay, well, it is what it is. We are at the mercy of this pandemic, and we'll try to just kind of keep these pieces moving along. But we were at the point in the process where we needed to start shooting photography. We needed to do video, and no one was booking anything. We weren't traveling. We weren't going anywhere. So we just kind of had to sit and wait. So at the same time, we are probably, I would say, May of 2020. And we are at the height of seeing ourselves go to the grocery store. We are not sure how people are contracting COVID. We're wearing gloves. We are wiping all of our, Amazon boxes, anything that we're ordering online, because, the world has shut down. We're not going outside. But we are wiping everything down in disinfectant wipes. And we have these crazy laborious routines of how we bring products in and out of our house. And as a packaging designer, I was floored to kind of see the evolution and adaptation of these habits, right? And not from the perspective of how do you keep yourself healthy during this pandemic, but we just didn't know. We didn't have information. And so, we were in a really reactive state. And so I was getting quite frustrated, to be honest, with this idea that we would, you're stockpiling disinfectant wipes, you're leaving your boxes outside. And also, as a packaging designer, you purchase these products, you bring them into your home, and this experience that you work really hard to create unboxing for, or create a really fun user experience, is getting thrown out the window because you're too busy and preoccupied thinking about, are there germs on this? Is it coming into my home? Is it, coming into contact with this surface? And we're seeing, the waste that's being produced from these habits. So you can't find toilet paper, you can't find disinfectant wipes, and we're just kind of creating a lot of additional landfill with the use of all these disinfectant wipes. And so I started doing some research around antimicrobial kind of technology, and really understanding that that could actually be an interesting solution to us not having to wipe everything down with a disinfectant wipe. So this kind of sparked our own kind of in-house brand, which is called Matter, which you see here. And we ended up doing a lot of research, looking into antimicrobial, really looking into the uses and applications. It's been around for a very, very long time, this use of antimicrobial technology in terms of, it's actually used in hospital furniture, it's used in catheters, it's used in, a lot of medical spaces, as well as food. It's used particularly on, like if you buy chicken or poultry or meat or anything, it's like, as we call it jokingly here at the studio, the little meat mattress that your food sits on typically has an antimicrobial property to it, and that's to preserve food so you don't get E. coli or other illnesses or diseases. So anyway, turns out that this has been around for a long time, and I thought that this was kind of a good example of how kind of science and innovation and design don't always meet. And I thought, okay, well, what if we could take this this antimicrobial property and add it to coding so that, customers, whether they're shopping in a grocery store or they're in a retail environment or, they're getting boxes from Amazon, they can have this coating and it protects, the spread of harmful bacteria, fungi, and viruses. So that was what launched Matter. And so we developed this brand. We came up with this coating. It's really remarkable in the sense that it is non-toxic, it's 100% recyclable and sustainable, and it's actually a really easy, not complicated solution for people to actually integrate this coating onto their packaging so that they feel like they can protect their customers, they can protect their retail partners, and not have to be, using a laborious routine, including disinfectant wipes that end up going straight into a landfill. They can just pick up this box and share it and touch it and kind of create this safe and sustainable solution for people to interact with products. So we were in the midst of launching this, and at the same time, we said, okay, well, we're developing Kulia right now as well. Can we bring this antimicrobial coating to the market, not only kind of with our own brand, but can we also kind of apply it to our first case study of Kulia? So we did that, and the imagery that you're seeing here was also in partnership with Neenah. They were incredibly supportive of us bringing this coating to the market and allowed us to kind of create all these different packaging boxes and experiences. We had a slide box, we had a cube box, and all the boxes are kind of covered in not only the branding, but just antimicrobial messaging, and to say, we do actually have a safe and sustainable solution available to us. It's just not known. And if we can kind of spread the word and spread, not only to kind of our own clients, but for all designers, for all agencies, for all companies, how do we kind of not operate from this really reactive place? That was, I think, the biggest thing that stood out to me is we weren't prepared. So how do we create a solution that allows us to be prepared for the future? Because here we are 2 years later, which is crazy. And we know that pandemics are going to happen again. And we know that, this isn't the end. And so I think this is just one small step, a really easy step that brands can take to protect their customers if and when, this situation should happen again. So, so with the launch, we launched Matter, and then the world began to open up, and we were able to finally shoot our product photography and our video. So we got on a plane and we headed off to Kauai. And here are some behind the scenes footage of us shooting the product in this natural landscape. We actually got an opportunity to shoot at a beautiful historical home in Hanalei. And the other really remarkable part was that Jasmine, in her kind of former life, as she said, was a commercial photographer. And so was her husband, and they worked together. And that's why she had such just a natural eye. And she got to shoot all the product photography and lifestyle photography with her husband for the brand. So it was really, really fun. We had an incredible experience, again, kind of once in a lifetime to be able to go to Kauai for a client shoot. And also during this time, which you see here, a couple images over of actually me pumping milk. I was pregnant and I had a baby. And so, was, learning the ins and outs of running the agency as a new mom and during COVID, and, how do you figure out how to be on set when you're in the midst of breastfeeding? So I just wanted to throw that image out there for any other moms or, women who are thinking about being moms, that, you can totally do it, and we can normalize pumping milk on set. So I wanted to showcase this here. This is the video, one of the videos that we ended up shooting in Kauai. And so to go back to that ingredient story, we captured this Royal Hawaiian sandalwood farm, and I think it turned out really beautifully. And she did such a great job of just kind of letting that story and their narrative come through about, how do they preserve this really historical and beautiful place on the Big Island. So I'm going to play this for you all. I love it. Every time I watch it, I love it. So I think this is just a good example of, again, how we were able to kind of capture the ethos, the real values of Jasmine, her kind of sourcing these people, going to the farms, really understanding what their purpose was, their mission was, and finding that natural alignment with people in terms of the way that she wanted to create formulas and really operate her business. So at this point, we leave Kauai, and there we go. We leave Kauai, and the pandemic is, we're in our kind of first lull. and we are deciding whether to launch or not. And I think at this point we knew that it wasn't going to end necessarily anytime soon, but we had waited, I think, probably in another additional 6 to 8 months, and we kind of made the decision, let's do it, let's get out there. Also, we were seeing a lot of trends within the skincare category, that people were spending a lot of time at home, and they were kind of rethinking their routines. They were re-looking at their products, and they were on the hunt for new cool things and brands within even the skincare category. So we made the decision and said, let's go. So here are some images of where we landed with the final product. So as you see here, we moved away from the label design. We were able to work with a really incredible silkscreen glass company here, actually locally within the Bay Area. And they did an incredible job on actually making sure that this deco came to life. The registration on this bottle is really amazing, and it speaks to the quality that they're able to produce. The company's called Monbera, if anyone is interested. They do amazing stuff. And so we went through a couple of rounds, and we did end up having to kind of simplify some of the designs on the bottle from the original pattern, just particularly the layering and the texture that we had done with the paint brushes. We ended up removing on the deco of the bottle, but we kept on the secondary component. Here's a tight shot of the formula. And then for the box, we did end up going with kind of a more simplified exterior. We took the pattern and we decided to remove all the color and just focus on a really intricate embossed detail that actually covers the entirety of the box, and then kind of created a central plaque on the front so that it mimicked the same plaque on the box and the bottle. And same thing, we worked with another incredible printer, Moquin Press, that was able to kind of achieve this design for us, and really just created, I think, a really nice balance between this colorful primary component and this sophisticated textural secondary packaging that we felt could really sit comfortably on shelf with, kind of other luxury skincare brands. And then here's just some more product photography. So we kind of, had this push-pull of just kind of warm lighting, using natural textures, really trying to showcase, kind of the beautiful deco of the bottle. Here's where we landed ultimately on the logo treatment, as well as kind of the final deco for this particular serum, face serum and eye serum. Then here's actually where we landed for the website design. So I'll just share this with you. So we were able to integrate video. We had beautiful product photography. It was also really nice. We only had kind of 2 hero SKUs, so we could really build up those product pages. We integrated some of that darker green contrast, throughout the website. We had, like you see here, just some really, we had such incredible assets to work with, which really made our jobs a lot easier. So here you see kind of our ingredient page. And so we had a full catalog of every ingredient in either the face serum or the face serum and the eye serum. So you could really understand where it came from, what its pH balance was, any other kind of details, the origins of it, where did people start using it, and how did they kind of discover it. So that was really fun to kind of be able to build out this ingredient glossary for the brand. And then here were just some examples of some ads that we created for them for launch, for social, that were kind of inclusive of video, some stills, but just how the kind of product and lifestyle photography came to life through content. And see here. And then we had a launch event, a virtual launch event, because we were still obviously, in the throes of COVID. But Jasmine and her team ended up pulling off a really fun virtual event. We helped actually create these custom gift boxes and we did these custom gift boxes for PR and kind of influencers, and send off bottles, as well as kind of like a custom lei making kit. And so she partnered with another local Hawaiian who teaches classes. And so, it was really fun. We got to tune in with people all over the world making Hawaiian leis and kind of watching her in the Hawaiian landscape and trying to provide a little bit of vacation, a little bit of slow, kind of slow speed, less anxiety during a really kind of anxious time. And it was really fun. And I think also, you can't totally see it here, but just showcasing some of the initial thoughts and reactions from the people who attended the event around the formulation. As I said, I've worked with a lot of formulas in my career, and I can undoubtedly say that her face and eye serum are the nicest formulas I've ever come in contact with in work. I use them all the time, twice a day, and I think it's just really a testament to her attention to detail, her quality. Jasmine was just so committed to creating, I think the best serum on the market. So that was our virtual launch event. And then we got to, kind of start promoting the project. And we did a great write-up with Neenah on the box, given that we used their paper, really talked about the details and kind of flexibility that cardstock was, or folding board was able to provide us in executing our designs. And then, we also got to feature, we also got some interesting press and some great notoriety around Matter, which launched with the launch of Kulia. So it was really such an incredible project, and it was so great to have it actually go out into the world. We worked on it for a really long time, and went through a lot of ups and downs, from everything from formulation to the kind of production issues with surrounding COVID. And but ultimately, I think we landed in a really beautiful place that was reflective of Jasmine's vision and her, that really spoke to the quality of her formulas, her ethos, her values. And, I can honestly say that this was one of my favorite projects I've ever worked on in my design career. And, and we were fortunate enough to win a Dieline Award for this. We won first place in 2021 for luxury skincare, which again is just like pinch me. It's a really wonderful honor, and it felt great to get recognized for this work in this category, especially having a lot of experience in it. And just always wanting to kind of push this category, push the work that we do in it. And we just felt really, really honored to be recognized. And we definitely popped bottles over this one. So, we can put a little video in here. Who doesn't want to go there? Like, take me there right now. And that's all I have on Kulia. So thank you so much again for taking the time to talk with me today, or to listen and hear a little bit about our story, about our studio, our process. And I'm really looking forward to Q&A and being able to answer any questions that you have. Also, please, feel free to reach out to Designsake if you have any other questions after this. I'm always available. Love to hear from community, love to build community. So happy to share any thoughts, tips, anything about, whether it's branding, packaging, or design career. you can send it all my way. So thank you again, Dieline, for having us on here and sharing our work, and excited to hear what you guys have to say. Thanks again.
You go live now.
No worries.
Hi, Danielle. Thank you so much for that amazing presentation. It was so great to see the project from start to finish and all the details and everything that went into the project. So thank you so much for sharing all of that with us.
Absolutely. Sorry, I think I had some overlay issues there. Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having us and giving us the opportunity to share some details about the project. It's fun to kind of go through it again and remember all the pieces that went into building Kulia.
Yes, so great. So we have some questions from people, so I'll just get started. One is, I would love to know the total timeline, and then you don't have to disclose this, but budget too, but you don't have to disclose, but more so the timeline. Someone's a formulator and a packaging designer that's launching their own brand, and it's a big undertaking. So can you let us know the timeline from like start to actual launch?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the total process for us ended up being about, I think, a year and a half. And I would say the biggest kind of chunk of time around that launch date was the formulation. And that was really because we had such high standards on how we vetted our sources that it took us a very long time to find sources that we could use and kind of scale with. So that's kind of that piece of it. You know, from a budget standpoint, I won't be specific as it relates to this project. If that person wants to reach out to me directly, please do, and I can kind of give you some more specifics on that. But I would say from the formulation side, and also I guess being really comprehensive of that entire scope, from strategy, positioning, packaging, photo, launch, etc. Your budget for something like that is probably going to run you, at least $100,000 to maybe a little bit more. I would say there's always a range. It can be like 100,000 up to like 300,000. So, and that is really, really contingent on so many factors. So I know that feels kind of like a scary large number, and it can be, but it really comes down to, kind of quantity, scale, distribution. So many other factors to kind of consider when you're putting together a budget for a project like that.
Right. I mean, it can go as high as you want it to
exactly.
go. Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
yes.
It just all depends on what you're looking for. The illustrations on this project feel really spot on. But how do you know you've landed on the right style of illustration for a project?
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. The illustration style for this project, the way that we kind of came to it was based on a couple different factors, and I would say probably the first and most important was actually starting with scale, and actually knowing that our component for the eye serum was very small, and so even the deco area that we had to work with was very limiting. So we wanted to think about, okay, well, what's the smallest application that this illustration is going to be used on, and then what's the largest application that it can scale to in terms of either the secondary box or digital, all the way to like a giant billboard somewhere. So I definitely say that the scale piece was probably the first part of it. And then I'd say the second was, we knew we wanted the illustrations to be pretty colorful. And so we wanted to have kind of shapes and, again, kind of going back to scale, that allowed us to really kind of capture a large amount of color, so that, they weren't really fine details that kind of got lost on the component. It could be kind of these, you're trying to create this kind of synergy, almost like a mural, with a little bit of larger shapes and colors that could really work at scale as well. And then I think the other piece was, obviously, as you said, there's so many different kind of illustration styles out there, and we wanted something that felt pretty kind of organic and wild based on kind of the inspiration from the landscape. So I think that was something that came to fruition for us, was really just kind of making sure that those forms felt like there was movement and there was kind of some organic nature to it. And then kind of that layering piece that you see with some of the texture. I think that really helped us land on something that felt kind of dimensional, not too complicated, that could also stretch from kind of packaging production all the way to the digital experience.
Yeah, I mean, their beautiful illustrations are really spot on. So you mentioned the paper is PC White Eggshell Neenah.
Yes.
What kind of printing was done on the outer packaging?
Yeah, so on the outer packaging, we did flood, both the exterior and interior of the box. So we did do I guess, 2-color pass on the front. Actually, I have this right here with me. So it's a 2-color pass on the front. So we kind of have this like soft pink peach color, and then we've got the green. And then we did an embossing detail on the sides and front panels that kind of hero out the plaque of Kulia in the center. But the detail on this, again, you kind of have to hold the box and see it in person, but it is really beautiful. And I think this, Neenah folding board, it just kept the integrity and design of the detail so well. And yeah, we absolutely kind of love the outcome of it. And then, like I said, so we decided to kind of go with a more subtle exterior, again, kind of thinking about the luxury skincare market, where would it sit? And then offering, more of this full color flooding when you open the box. And so you also see here we have an internal kind of tray that actually would hold the component, and it goes kind of all the way in and around here. So yeah, it allowed us, we had a lot of fun pieces to work with, to say the least.
Yeah, it's exciting to see it, like the unboxing of it all.
Yeah.
I think Gary is here from Neenah, and we wanted to ask, I just had a question about the paper that was used on the project, and if you can tell us a little bit more about the paper selection that Danielle chose.
Sure, and good day, everyone. We want to thank you for being part of it, and what a beautiful project. And I'm going to hold up, if you're still watching this, the updated Neenah folding board swatch book. So what Danielle and Kulia chose was our eggshell finish 100 PC white. So that is literally made from 100% post-consumer reclaimed fiber. That's made it to your curb and has been de-inked and recycled and made into other paper to distill the circular economy. And we have many other selections that are in this book. So I can put my email in, gary.bernstein@neenah.com, if you want other samples of this product, because it comes in several finishes too. And the only thing I'll say is, and I think Danielle illustrated this well, is the board you choose can really help define the brand in countless ways before the product is even opened. And even a color like a PC100 white shows that paper can be a design element. So you don't have to put foil on it. You don't have to put deep, dark, rich colors or other things too. Clean shades can really do that part. And what I'll also say is, you may say, oh, I'm using a recycled product. You don't compromise quality, feel, or look when using recycled products. They perform just like your standard products too. So thank you.
And printing's never an issue, as you saw with her blind embossing. What other printing techniques can you do on this type of paper?
Yeah, I mean, you can do anything from the 2-color, the 2 passes to you can lay down solid colors. You can do 4-color process as well, and it'll take any number of finishing applications. Whether it's embossing, debossing to any sorts of die cutting to, so it really performs well in any standard commercial print or packaging applications.
Wonderful, wonderful. A lot of people were asking about manufacturing, and I'm really glad that we have you, Gary, here, and you also answered everybody's questions in regards to where you sourced your bottles and where you sourced your paper, where you sourced the printer. So this was a really great and informative Decoded episode. I think this is the most informative we've ever had. So thank you both to you, Gary, and to Danielle for sharing all of that information. I think it's so crucial for everybody, working on a project or launching something. So having those resources and sharing that is really great. Thank you so much. Gary, I put your email address in the chat. If anybody is looking to get some information about the paper or needing some paper samples, Neenah is more than happy, and Gary is more than happy to send that to you. His email address is, like I said, in the group chat, so please email him. It's a huge treat for us to have you on here, Gary. And this concludes our Q&A, but I'm going to put Danielle, I'm going to put your Instagram for Designsake Studio on here. And if anybody wants to reach out and slide into your DMs, I think you'll be more than happy to answer.
Yes.
So Danielle will be more than happy to answer any questions that you all have. This was a really, like I said, robust presentation on this project. I absolutely love it. And so thank you so much for your time. And Gary, thank you for your time as well. Okay,
yes,
well,
thank you, Gary.
Thank you. And this episode, I have to remind everyone, will be on demand. So in case you want to go back and see something, we'll have it on demand on the website later today. So thank you all so much. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a wonderful day.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.